Olympia Unitarian Universalist congregation, our community envisions an interconnected world that is loving, just, and healthy. We commit to live out joining us today. My name is Curtis Tanner. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm a member of the worship arts team. Leading worship with me today is Reverend Monica Jacobson Tennessen, Troy Fisher, our music director, and Reverend Mary Gear. Reverend Monica Jacobson Tennessen currently serves as the minister of Community UU Church in Pasco, Washington, and has previously served congregations in Oregon and Massachusetts. She lives north of Olympia with her spouse, child, and always delighted to spend time with OUUC. Here's a few things you should know about our service today. We are streaming live on Zoom and YouTube, and the service is being recorded. For those of you here in the sanctuary, you can see subtitles on the screen in front. We are a multi-generational community, and we value our young ones. Kids, babies, teens, all are welcome in our sanctuary. We have fluffy chairs in front so you can be almost as comfortable as those online. There's also nursery care and storytime program for children in the classroom wing. We are grateful for the many hands that helped make worship happen this morning. Thank you to the ushers, the greeters, the kitchen crew, and all who contribute in so many ways to make today's service happen. After the service, everyone will have a chance to discuss reflection questions offered by Reverend Monica. For those online, we invite you to go into a breakout room for a virtual coffee chat. For those in person, please feel free to stay for coffee and fellowship in the Commons. At 11:30, after the coffee chat, please return to the main room or the sanctuary for time with the forum to kick off our stewardship drive. Next Sunday, we spring forward for daylight savings time. That means it's Pajama Sunday at OUUC. Feel free to wear your jammies, your fuzzy bunny slippers, your nice hat, whatever, to church next Sunday. Those of us here at OUUC will be almost as comfy as those of you at home. There are many things happening at Olympia UU, from a variety of groups to Thursday community dinners and spiritual practice to study and action groups. Please check out the Tuesday electronic update or the website for the most update information. Now, let us open our hearts and our minds as we prepare for worship. It is good to be together. This morning, we join Unitarian Universalist congregations around the world in lighting a chalice, the symbol of our faith tradition. Please join me as we light our chalices together with the words of Reverend Rachel Hayes. We light our chalice this morning with our hearts turned to the work of our congregation. We have inherited this institution from generations of people who believed in the power of human beings to bear love into the world. We carry this tradition for those who find comfort, inspiration, and joy within its real and virtual spaces. We tend to the spark of imagination and hope for the world to come.
Good morning. I'm Reverend Monica Jacobson Tennessen. I use she, her pronouns, and I am indeed always delighted to come and be with you at OUUC. Our opening words this morning come from the Reverend Leslie Takahashi. To worship means to consider that which has worth. Today, we consider with gratitude the many gifts of this community. The opportunity to be affirmed in who we are and to offer that affirmation to others. The chance to stand up together to help remake the world in the ideal of justice. The freedom to choose one's own path to truth and to learn from the travelogues of others. The space to expand one's own spirit and to reconnect after busy or humdrum weeks with the sustaining truths of one's life. Regular reminders that we must see our world through the lens of love, and the aspiration to consider all life as precious. For if all of it is made of stardust, how can it not be wondrous? So this morning, let's welcome all these gifts with gratitude, for they have been paid for with many currencies. The blood of the martyrs who died so that we can be free in our religion. The sweat of those who persisted in justice's name against hostility and adversity. And the laughter and joy of those giddy with the embrace of community. The dollars and cents of those who gave what they could and then stretched to give a little more. The infinite small acts of service that make the parts greater than the whole, done by those who knew themselves in sympathy with our shared purposes. So today we consider with gratitude and humility what it means to pay forward what has been paid forward for us. And now, with all of this, let us enter into worship with gladness in our hearts. Come, let us worship together.
And let's sing together again. We're going to sing We Give Thanks. It's in the Teal Hymn Book, hymn number 1010. But I'm going to invite you to find the lyrics on the screen as we're going to sing an added verse that's not in the hymn book. But if you'd like to follow the notes, the hymn number is 1010. I invite you to join standing or sitting, whichever is most comfortable for you. Oh, we give thanks.
One more time, good morning. My name is Carmel Shields. I use she, her pronouns, and I am your stewardship captain. All right. This year's stewardship theme, I've been saying there's too many S's in this, is extending our reach. We're using the same symbol of the giving tree. The roots are our legacy giving. The trunk is our capital and building funds. Stewardship represents the branches and the leaves. The branches are the OUC programs and service offerings here. The leaves represent you, our generous donors, and our community members. The leaves are how we present ourselves to the greater community. The month of March is our Stewardship Pledge Drive. We dedicate the full month to informing everybody about our annual budget needs and raising funds for OUC for our operational costs this coming year. This week, you'll find a letter in your mailbox, and it's asking you to make a pledge of financial support. The ship crew will be here after service, so come and join us, please. We will have information tables in the commons as well throughout the month. Today and the next 2 Sundays, we'll be presenting testimonial videos of OUC members and their experiences with OUC. Why they first came, what keeps them coming back, why they give their financial support. I invite you to listen for the shared values expressed by each of our members, the friendships made here, the working together for social justice, a place of belonging for kindred spirits, enjoying the journey of self-discovery and spiritual growth, and to get things done.
I'm Diana Finch, and I've been a member for, I was trying to think of how long, I think about 30 years now. And I came here with something in mind. And I knew what it was, but I wasn't sure what it was going to look like. And I hoped I recognized it when I saw it, and I did. I did. I walked in. I kind of wanted to be just quiet and observant. And I went into the service. It was, I had been disturbed, by something, and I just really wanted a community of kindred spirits. But I didn't know what that looked like. So I walked in, I sat down in the back of the sanctuary, and I observed. And the very thing that brought me there, the very issue I'd come about, or within mind, was in the pulpit. And it spoke to me as a kindred spirit, and I thought, whoa, I think I'm home. And I've been here ever since.
My name is Bob Brennan, and like many things, I first came to OUC because my wife drugged me over here, in a sense. We were looking for a new church, and Sally, as always, did the majority of the research, and basically what we heard about OUC was all good, and decided to come over, and really enjoyed the people here, and Arthur at the time, the minister, and we've been here ever since. I think it's been close to 10 years.
I'm Nancy Curtis, and I came to OUC in 2008, so it's been a bit of time. I have been a UU for much longer, though. What I always look forward to is the energy that the people being together are able to create. It fills me in ways that are very important for me.
The differences that OUC has made in our life have been varied and plentiful. I think, first of all, there's so many social justice things going on at the church that I think we weren't even aware of. You like to think you're educated and you read the paper and things, but then once you get involved with OUC, you realize there are so many good things that are happening, and all the various congregation that are involved in, and there's so many opportunities to get involved in helping others and making the world a better place.
We're kindred spirits, and we're working towards a same end. And that has been a big part of what's important to me because it's important that we're not alone and that we're working for the right thing. To me, this community works for the right thing.
Well, Sally and I give money to UUC, for several reasons. I mean, one is it takes money, for the church to do everything it does. There's salaries, expenses, those kind of things, and I think we just feel, we like to pay our fair share, or at least, definitely the share that we can afford. And I guess the second reason is it's feels good to donate money, to a good cause, and there's so many good things that we feel UC does, and also our time, but money is definitely something that is required for those things to happen.
I give because I love it, and I think you support what you believe in and what you love, and for me, it is a place to come, and as Reverend Carol McKinley tells us, practice life. And for here, I can grow in so many different ways and try new things.
I donate money to OUUC because OUUC is important to me. The fact that I can walk through the door every Sunday morning and be with people who are important to me and who also share my mission, also share what's important to me. That's a good part of my life. I rarely miss a Sunday, and I'm happy to be here. So that's why I donate, because you donate, you support what's important.
Each Sunday, we express our gratitude by joining together in service to our community and to do something greater than ourselves. The offering collected here does two things. It supports the ongoing work of Olympia Unitarian Universalist Congregation, which is also supported by your regular pledges. Thank you. This offering also supports an organization that serves our community in harmony with our Unitarian Universalist values. In January and February, our Share the Plate recipient was the Catholic Community Kitchen. Your generosity allowed us to send over $2,400 to help Community Kitchen feed our neighbors. Thank you. Our Share the Plate organization for March and April is Hands-on Personal Empowerment, or HOPE. And this is their message about their work.
Good morning, OUC. Thanks for having me. My name is Rachel, and I'm the Executive Director for the Hope Garden Project, located in Shelton, Washington. Hope engages Mason County youth to become empowered, productive members of their community and the world they will inherit through garden-based education. Currently, we run 4 different programs. During the school year, we offer programming at the middle school level, where youth learn about health, sustainability, and steward the garden located at Evergreen Elementary. We also work with the Life Skills High School program, where older youth living with neurodivergence get to learn how to build, grow, and maintain the garden located outside of their classroom. They also learn how to make healthy recipes that they can do at home. Through an agricultural model, the Older Youth Employment Program is designed to offer young adults the opportunity to have their first job experience in a safe and supportive environment while at the same time exposing them to nutrition, health, and cooking. By creating opportunities for youth to gain skills in communication, leadership, and team building, they learn how to be the kind of humans they want to be. We offer this program during the school year and during the summer. Our school year program is 2 afternoons a week, and our high school program during the summer is 8 weeks long, for 5 hours a day, 3 days a week. This is our most intensive program and the one that is the most rewarding and exciting. But all of our programs are really wonderful, and we wouldn't be able to do it without support, like the kind of support that we are getting from you all. So thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
You can participate in the offering by making a donation online through the church website or by texting the number that will appear on the screen and in your chat. You can also mail a check to Olympia UU or place your offering in one of the baskets being passed by the ushers. May the offering now be generously given as it is gratefully received.
Good morning. Thank you so much for your generous gifts in all their forms. We came together this morning bringing everything that is in our lives. Let's open our hearts to the complexity of life as we place stones in the water of community. You will hear a drumbeat as we share today. It brings into our awareness that our individual hearts beat, and together we create the heartbeat of our community. So right now, let's just all take a deep breath together, in and out, as we open our hearts to receive the complexity of all that is in our lives and our communities today. For those online, I invite you to share from your heart by entering in the chat on your screen and your keyboard. Those in the sanctuary can see your sharing on the screen. And for those in person today, I invite you to come forward if there is something you would like to share with the community by placing a stone in the water and holding your sharing in your heart. We'll hear the drum, the heartbeat of our community, as we reach out our hearts to those who share today. We'll place a stone in the water for all that has been shared online, shared from the heart. And one more stone placed in the water for all that we hold in our hearts and that remains unspoken. Let's take a moment now to harmonize our bodies and our breath. Please be in whatever way is comfortable for you to hum. So in a moment, I'm going to start humming, and I invite you to join me. Just pick a note and hum. I invite you to place your hand on your chest or your belly so you can feel the vibrations in your body as it moves through. And we'll hum for a bit, and then when it comes to a natural end, we'll be in silence together.
invite you to remain seated and let's sing together. There's a river flowing in my soul. It's hymn number 1007. There's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my soul, and it's telling me that I'm somebody, 'cause there's a and it's flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my heart. There's a river and it's flowing in my heart. And it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river, it's flowing in my heart. There's a river and it's flowing in my mind. There's a river, it's flowing in my mind. And it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river, it's flowing in my mind. There's a river flowing in my soul.
Today's first reading comes from All That's Past is Prologue by Reverend Victoria Safford. There's a story told by a colleague about a woman on a subway train in New York City. The station is crowded, and as she leaves the train, she realizes that she's holding only one of her gloves. She looks back to the car to see the matching one on the seat, but it's too late. The doors are closing. Suddenly, as the doors close, she flings out her arm and tosses the remaining glove onto the seat alongside its mate. The doors shut, and the train pulls away. That looks like a frivolous gesture, gratuitous, spontaneous, spur of the moment. But if you know she must have lived a long life of generosity, a life of wild and creative generosity of spirit, to be able to think so quickly, to act so urgently and healthily, to know precisely in the moment what would bless the world right then and there. It happened in an instant, but that was planned giving through and through. Something in her past, or everything in her past, prepared that woman for her gesture. Habits of living and giving, practiced and refined her whole life long. All our past is a prologue and prepares us for these opportunities.
What a beautiful example of generosity. A story of a person who did not worry about being down one glove, who did not worry about being down two gloves, but instead gave away the glove that was still under her control. What does it take for us to look at a resource, whether it is money or a glove, and trust that there is enough to go around, and that this particular piece of the whole can be sent out into the world? When it comes to money, it's common to spend a lot of time worrying about whether we have enough. So when we come around to these stewardship seasons in our church years, sometimes we get nervous, right? What if I don't have enough? What if I am not enough? What if we are not enough and we don't pledge enough? I remember vividly feeling some of that the first time I made a pledge to a Unitarian Universalist congregation. I was a graduate student at the University of Michigan. I was a member of the First UU congregation of Ann Arbor, and I was singing in the choir. So I was in a set of seats up front like these. So there was no way I was going to be able to sneak out early during this service. And it was one of those stewardship services where everybody got beautiful, brightly colored pledge cards tucked into their order of service, and there were pens and pencils, and the invitation was, fill out your card right now and put it in the basket while we all sing. And I was like, oh no, they can all see me and I'm stuck up here. And I was a grad student, right? My budget was not abundant. So I pulled out the Fair Share Giving Guide. Have you seen that table? All the different suggested levels of giving. And I scanned it with my heart racing, and I found the smallest number I could find on it, which still seemed a little bit too big for what I could afford. And I wrote it down on my beautiful, cheerful orange pledge card. And I folded it in half, and I folded it again, and I folded it again until it was a little orange wad of paper, and I tossed it into that pledge card basket. It was not like throwing a glove, because I was embarrassed and afraid that that number I had written down was maybe so small that someone would see it and say, that's not enough. You don't have enough. You are not enough. And it felt awful. Now, fast forward to a few years later, when I was living in Corvallis, Oregon. I was a member of the UU Fellowship of Corvallis, and for some reason, I joined the stewardship team. Perhaps because I knew I had work to do around giving and my relationship to money, and it seemed like a good way to get myself to do it. And our team had been reading Lynn Twist's book, The Soul of Money, in which Lynn Twist tells a beautiful story about being at a community gathering and someone coming and giving and saying, money flows like water in our lives. We can encourage it to flow to all the places it is needed the most, or we can dam it up, and sometimes it becomes stagnant rather than life-giving. So out of that, I said, okay, it's time for me to face a pledge card again. And this time I didn't start by looking at a table and thinking about an annual amount and getting scared, what if I wasn't enough? I said, what is a good amount that could flow out of my household each month? And then I multiplied that number by 12, right? One gift for each month. And I was astonished by the number that resulted. It was more than double this tiny pledge that had had my heart racing in Michigan. And I went to my spouse and I said, what do you think? Can we pledge this much? And it wasn't, top quartile giving. No one was going to be like, wow, what a giant pledge that is. But for a family with a tight budget and a new baby, who is now 10 and a half, it was a pretty reasonable pledge, respectable even. And the best part was, I wrote that number down and I felt joyful. I felt free. I felt like I was more than enough to give to this community that I loved. Now, once upon a time, back in college, I took an economics class. And if you are an economist, please bear with me because this probably isn't quite right. But in this class, I remember being told that microeconomics is the study of what individual people do. And macroeconomics is the study of what groups of people do. And at this time, at least, a lot of the principles of one could be applied to the other because enough individuals acting together begin to function like one big individual. I see some nodding heads. This is not too far off of current economic understandings. And I remembered this when I pledged, because a congregation is a group of individuals acting together. And if we can each make pledges that cause each of us to feel joyful and free and more than enough, imagine what that does for the whole congregation. Imagine how that shapes our presence in the world. And because I am invested in Unitarian Universalism, I am invested in OUUC and in each of you feeling joyful and free and more than enough. And I want you to feel good. Not the shallow kind of, I got everything I wanted, and I didn't have to give anything up, and I didn't have to deal with anything annoying kind of good. Although that kind is nice. But the deep down good, the fundamentally okay, the kind of good that means you bring some general hopefulness to the world and at least some awareness of the blessings of your life. And then from that place that you enjoy sharing what it is that you have. There is a professor, Nicholas Christakis, who is a professor of social and natural science at Yale University, who says that one interesting and remarkable thing about human beings is that a way that we share is by teaching each other things. Not simply in our relational groups with people with whom we share genes or whose survival positively affects ours. No, Dr. Christakis says, we teach strangers. That is unusual. But we do. We give directions to people who are lost. Or maybe you remember when the motion sensor sinks started going into public restrooms, and you'd go in and people would be looking around. Where are the knobs? They'd be kind of feeling for something, and you could say, oh, you wave your hand right about here. We help each other. We practice this form of kindness and generosity when we share the knowledge that we have to care for everyone. And that feels good. Now, about 15 years ago, a group of researchers at the University of Oregon decided they wanted to see what happens in our brains when we make choices, and particularly choices about money. So they took a group of people and they got them to agree to go into an fMRI machine, which does brain imaging. And they said to them, you're going to start with $100. And we're going to show you a little screen that you'll be able to see inside the machine. Sometimes things will happen to that money that you won't get to make choices about. It'll be like being taxed or maybe earning interest. And sometimes you will get to make choices. We will ask you, do you want to donate some of this money to a local food bank? And we're going to watch your brain while you make these choices and react to taxation, et cetera, et cetera. The researchers noticed that there were three things: receiving money, seeing money go to a good cause without actually making the choice to send it there, and then actively choosing to donate money. Those three things all activated similar pleasure-related centers deep in the brain. And the biggest glow of satisfaction came when the person got to make the choice to give the money. It's enough to make a person practice throwing their gloves.
Our second reading is from Spiritual Practice for Our Time by Reverend Dr. Rebecca Parker. I became aware of the deeper, more fundamental spiritual reason for tithing when listening to a member of the first congregation I served. It was Pledge Drive Sunday. People had begun to talk about why they gave to the church. Steve DeGroot talked about why he tithed, why he gave away 10% of his income. I first began to tithe, he said, because I was taught to obey the teachings of the church, and tithing was one of them. I tithed because I saw obedience as the heart of faithfulness. When I began to understand that obedience was not all that important and could be evil, I continued to tithe because a different reason had come to me. The people I loved most and admired tithed. My parents and leaders of the church. Their lives challenged me by their goodness. I wanted to be like them, so I tithed to model my life on theirs. Steve went on, but then I matured in my faith. I came to my own reason for tithing. This is why I do it now. I tithe because it tells the truth about who I am. If I did not tithe, it would say that I was a person who had nothing to give. Or I was a person who received nothing from life. Or I was a person who did not matter to the larger society. Or I was a person whose life's meaning was solely in providing for my own needs. But in fact, who I am is the opposite of all of those things. I am a person who has something to give. I am a person who has received abundantly from life. I am a person whose presence matters in this world. I am a person whose life has meaning because I am connected to and care about many things larger than myself alone. If I did not tithe, I would lose track of those little truths about who I am. By tithing, I remember who I am. This is the endangered knowledge in our culture that can be preserved by religious practices that teach us a different sense of who we are.
I love that. I tithe, I give, because it tells the truth about who I am. I am a person who has something to give. I am a person who has received abundantly from life. I am a person whose presence matters in this world. I am a person whose life has meaning because I am connected to and care about many things larger than myself. By tithing, I remember who I am. I don't know about you, but speaking just for myself, I know that I need help remembering those kinds of things. I've come to believe that practices that help us remember are a core part of our religious lives. When I was studying for the ministry, I spent a summer interning as a hospital chaplain. This is a required part of preparation for the ministry. And because I was at a UU theological school, I especially enjoyed being an intern with folks from other traditions, and learning from the full-time chaplains who practiced other traditions. And these chaplains would sit down with all the interns for an afternoon and teach us something from their experience. One afternoon, we spent time with a Catholic priest, someone who was really probably could have been retired, but loved it so much he continued to come and offer ministry at this hospital. And he was talking about the particular rituals of Catholicism, the sacraments. What do you do when a patient wants the sacrament of the anointing of the sick? Who can perform that? And he said, you know what? Look, in Catholicism, we have a whole set of sacraments. Some traditions do, some don't, but we have a bunch in Catholicism. And some of them you do once, like baptism, and some of them you do a lot, like making confession or receiving communion. Do you know why we do that? And I kind of looked at the Catholic seminarian in the cohort, because maybe he knew. I was like, I don't know, this is just what Catholics do. And this priest said, look, often when we talk about it like God needs us to do those things. God does not need us to do those things. We need us to do those things. God never forgets that God loves us, but we forget that we are loved. And it matters that we say out loud mistakes that we have made, bad choices that we chose, and that we know that we are still loved. It matters that we receive something as simple as a bit of bread or a wafer, and we know that we are connected, and we know that we are loved. We need us to do these things. And I find that so helpful. Not being Catholic myself, I do not take part in Catholic sacraments. But do I have spiritual practices, religious technology that I use to help myself remember? Yeah, I really do. I start every morning with a reading from a book of meditations. I end every day with gratitude journaling to name at least one blessing in my life. I try to be alive to moments of beauty and to notice them when they occur. And I try to give generously of my resources, whether that is making a pledge to a congregation or getting a grocery gift card for a friend with a new baby, or even taking a box of old towels to the Humane Society. And when I do, I try to savor those moments like a piece of really good dark chocolate. You can imagine something else if you're not a chocolate person. And spiritual practices are not only for individuals to do, they are also for groups. Sometimes they're called corporate spiritual practices. Corporate, not like a corporation, but like together in one body. Macroeconomics didn't know that religion had beat them to this idea by like 1,000 years. When we gather to do something together as one, like coming to worship, we gather for a corporate practice, a shared practice. We are not, most of us, watching this service on demand like it's a Netflix show. We have set aside this time to do this together. Now, maybe you are watching this later, and that's okay, no judgment. But as often as you can, I hope that you share the same time to know that you are not lifting up what is of worth alone, but instead in company with this community, because it's good for all of us. At the church I serve in the Tri-Cities, we invite the offering with the same words every week. The board representative gets up and says, at this time in our service, we pause to receive an offering. A Unitarian Universalist congregation is self-supporting. all the funding for our presence here comes from the contributions of members and friends. Our offering is a time to engage in the spiritual practice of generosity, remembering that each of us has the power to give and share of our resources. When we combine our gifts to make an offering, together we are able to do more than any one of us can do alone. Our offering is also an invitation to gratitude for the gifts that life has given us, for the network of relationships in which we live, and for the presence of this community. Each week is another chance to bring gratitude to mind during this time. The spiritual practice of generosity, the religious technology of remembering through our practices to bring us to awareness of blessings and gratitude and connection and the knowledge that we matter, each of us individually and all of us together. Committing to these practices, shaping ourselves into the kinds of people who could make the split-second choice to toss a glove back onto a train car, this is not just a nice idea. I don't know how much you've been tracking the world lately. Climate change, the persecution of those of us who are trans and non-binary, or even just really enjoy fabulous drag outfits, the ongoing toll of racism and sexism and ableism, inflation and economic inequality. Well, we could go on. Folks, we are only going to need generosity more in the days that are coming. We are only going to need to be more confident that we are worthy, that we have enough and we are enough. We are beloved, each and every one of us. Who or what you feel beloved by will vary, but please know you are beloved. You matter. You are a person who has received abundantly from life, and you have something to give. We are only going to need to know this more and more deeply, to practice this until it gets into our bones. This truth that we are deeply connected to each other, and those connections are part of what makes our life beautiful. So let's practice. Let's do things, small and large, until our spiritual muscle memory helps us remember almost as fast as we forget. And let's do it together. As you enter into stewardship season and you consider your pledges of financial support, here's what I wish for you. May you give in ways that make you feel good and free and joyful and worthy. May you celebrate who you are and what flows through your life, joining together with everyone here to do more than anyone could do alone. And may this become ever more strongly part of your practice of remembering who you are. May it be so. Let us share a few moments together in silence.
invite you to join in singing Love Will Guide Us. The hymn number is hymn number 131. We are going to add a couple of additional verses. So you'll want to have your eyes on the screen. We'll sing the first 2 verses that are written in the book, and then the second 2 will be up on the screen, and then we'll join in with the third.
Thank you, Troy. If you are online and you have a chalice or a candle, please join with me as we extinguish it with these words from John C. Morgan. In the end, it won't matter how much we have, but how generously we have given. It won't matter how much we know, but rather how well we live. And it won't matter how much we believe, but rather how deeply we love. May we move out into the day in peace.
Let's sing together our unison benediction. May you know the Spirit in you.